Have you ever felt like your life has gone off track? That feeling that, no matter how hard you try, nothing seems to align? It can be frustrating, especially when you've worked so hard to keep everything under control. But here's a counterintuitive truth. God never loses control, even when you think everything is lost. This idea is powerful because it reveals that even the detours, the mistakes, and the delays have a purpose. It's not about making excuses for problems, but about a greater plan we often can't see. It's natural to want quick answers and instant solutions. Anxiety creeps in, doubts haunt us, and we start to question, is God still with me? But here's the secret. He has always been in control, even in the decisions that seemed wrong. There is a time for everything, and even in our failures, He is at work. Isn't it amazing to think that a mistake, a detour, or even a closed door can be a tool God uses to redirect us? In this message, we'll explore how God works sovereignly in every detail, how His plans surpass any attempt we make to take control, and how learning to trust Him can bring peace into your life. Are you ready to understand how even chaotic moments can be part of God's perfect timing? Committing and trusting in God isn't just an act of faith, it's a strategic decision to live with more peace. Psalm 37:5 says it clearly, "Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will act." This means letting go of the reins, which may feel scary, but is actually freeing. Imagine someone facing a life-changing decision, like moving to a new city. Instead of getting lost in doubt and fear, they hand that burden over to God and trust that He'll open the right doors. What a relief it is not to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. But trust doesn't mean doing nothing. Proverbs 3:5-6 encourages us not to lean on our own understanding, which means our human solutions have limits. Acknowledging Him in all our ways means making decisions based on divine principles. For example, if you're considering a career change, instead of only analyzing market trends, pray, seek wisdom from Scripture and from trusted mentors. You'll begin to see that it's not your skill but God's guidance that leads to success. Of course, trusting isn't always easy or immediate. It's like planning a long trip and wanting to control every detail. But there's something powerful about sitting down and saying, "God, here's my map, guide me," and then taking the next step. That peace that comes, even in the uncertainty, is unmatched. And when you surrender your plans to God, you'll realize that the wisest way to live is to walk in step with His timing. Because yes, His timing always has something perfect to teach us. God's timing is perfect. God's timing is perfect, even if it's hard to accept sometimes. Ecclesiastes 3:1 teaches us that everything has its time under heaven, but in our human impatience, we want things to happen now. Take someone who's been praying for a better job for years. They may feel frustrated not seeing immediate answers. But God's timing isn't slow, it's precise. That apparent delay may be preparing a life-changing opportunity at just the right moment. Waiting patiently doesn't mean doing nothing. It means moving forward in faith, trusting that God is orchestrating the unseen details. Think of a farmer planting seeds. He doesn't just sit and watch the field, he keeps working while he waits for the harvest. In the same way, we can use this waiting season to grow, gain new skills, strengthen relationships, or deepen our spiritual lives. All of this prepares us to receive what God has planned in His perfect timing. When you learn to sync your pace with God's, you discover that even the hard seasons have a purpose. You may not understand it now, but that waiting period might be strengthening you for what's coming. It's like a play, where every scene connects to the next. Accepting God's timing not only brings peace but also builds trust that His plan, though unknown, is far better than any agenda we try to impose. Trials as spiritual refinement. Trials are like refining fire, they transform and strengthen the soul. Job 23:10 reminds us that just like gold is refined by fire, we too are shaped by difficulties. Have you ever gone through a time that seemed unbearable, only to come out stronger? For instance, losing a job can be devastating, but it might also lead you to develop new skills or discover a calling you never considered before. God doesn't allow trials to destroy us but to bring out the best in us. In tough times, it's easy to ask why. But the better question is, what for? Picture an athlete training for a big competition. The intense workouts may seem harsh, but every drop of sweat has a purpose. Likewise, trials prepare us for greater purposes, strengthening our faith and character. A helpful practice during these times is keeping a journal. Write down small victories and lessons learned along the way. The beautiful thing about being refined is that we're never alone in the process. God walks with us, guiding us even through pain. Sometimes what seems like a desert is actually a school of faith. Remember, when gold comes out of the fire, it's not only purer, it shines brighter. And with every trial you overcome, you move closer to His divine purpose, ready for what's ahead. God's sovereignty and predestination. God's sovereignty is a mystery full of love and purpose. Ephesians 1:11 tells us that He has a perfect plan for each of us even when we don't understand it. Think of an artist painting a canvas up close. You might just see random brushstrokes, but from a distance, a masterpiece takes shape. That's our life in God's hands. He coordinates every detail, even the ones that seem chaotic, to fit into His eternal purpose. Even though we have free will, our choices don't cancel out God's sovereign plan. It's like a river flowing. You can row to the left or right, but the water still moves toward the sea. What does this mean practically? That even when we make wrong choices, God has the power to redirect us. For example, someone facing failure may discover new opportunities because of that very setback. There's no mistake God can't use for good. Knowing that our lives are aligned with an eternal purpose brings unmatched peace. You can stop worrying about the what-ifs and trust that you are exactly where you need to be. This doesn't mean being passive, it means living with confidence and gratitude, knowing that every experience, even detours, is part of a greater plan. Isn't it beautiful to think that even what seems insignificant has a place in God's grand puzzle? The peace that comes from depending on God. Depending on God isn't weakness, it's freedom. When we stop trying to control everything and hand over the wheel to the one who truly knows the destination, we find peace that goes beyond all understanding. Philippians 4:7 calls it the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding. Imagine facing a day full of uncertainty with the assurance that you're not alone in the process. That kind of trust turns stress into calm, because you know God's timing is perfect and everything is under His care. That peace also helps us make better decisions. When we're freed from anxiety, we start to see more clearly. For example, if someone is facing a big decision like changing jobs or moving to another city rather than acting under pressure, they can pray and wait. In that space of dependence, answers often come in unexpected ways. A word of encouragement, a door that opens, or even one that closes. God always finds ways to guide us when we trust in Him. And it's not just a personal experience, that peace is contagious. When others see your life, full of calm in the midst of storms, they wonder where your strength comes from. That's when you can share that the secret is surrendering everything to God. Just as a river flows naturally toward its destination, our lives also find their perfect course when we rest in divine sovereignty. Can you imagine what could happen if more people lived this way? Now that you understand God's role even in moments of detour, I ask you, how are you dealing with the unexpected situations in your life? Have you been trying to control everything on your own, or have you made space to trust the divine plan, knowing He is always in control? Change begins when we decide to let go of anxiety and allow God's peace to enter our hearts, even in the midst of adversity. Imagine if you began to look at challenges as opportunities to grow, knowing that every step, even the wrong ones, are part of His perfect plan. What would you change in your life today if you were certain that God has everything under control? If you want to keep learning how to apply these principles to your life, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Don't wait until tomorrow to receive the peace and wisdom that can transform your life today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.